Where are you from?
Minneapolis, Minnesota.
What was it like growing up in Minneapolis?
Cold. Very cold. That's why I moved here. I actually moved here on a road trip in 2009-ish. Yeah. So I was married at the time. My ex-husband and I took a road trip here, and we just stayed.
Oh, you decided to stay. What was life like in Minneapolis?
Well, so I'm mixed, and it's like everybody in Minneapolis is mixed. So my mom's white, my dad's black, and like everybody in my neighborhood, that was their situation. Like it was just a bunch of mixed kids running around. So it was kind of cool to be in that particular neighborhood. But outside of race, it was very cold. Like it's cold 9 months of the year. So that is why I left. But I felt like because I've always kind of been a weirdo. And I feel like when I came to Atlanta is where I really was able to come into myself, because there's a lot of weirdos here. And so it's like, like I can just be myself and not feel like I wasn't ostracized. Like I was the prom queen, but I was also a very big nerd. So it's like I was like a cool nerd. My friends accepted me, but they're always like, oh yeah, she's just weird like that. Like instead of going to a party, I might want to like watch a documentary or read a book or something. So yeah, but coming to Atlanta, I was like, oh, I can just be myself, and it just is what it is.
What books were you reading back then?
I read a lot of books about health. So like I read about alkalinity, and there was something about like the biome. I can't even remember, but yeah, I read a lot about like veganism. I went vegetarian when I was 9 because my mom told me where chicken tenders came from, and I like have such a heart for animals, so I was just like, I can't eat dead animals, so I stopped doing that. And then, but I ate a lot of junk food, so my skin broke out really bad, so then they put me on antibiotics, and I didn't want to do that, so I learned how to eat properly. So I was reading a lot of books about health.
And so after high school, what did you do?
I got married.
Oh, you got married right out of high school?
Not right out of high school. I got engaged at 19. Yeah, I got engaged at 19, bought a house at 20, married at 21, first kid at 23. So, yeah, it took me 8 years to finish my 4-year degree because of that whole life moment I had.
So you lived that's like a fast life.
Yeah, I never had my 20s. Like, everyone I think needs to have a whole phase. I didn't have that. Like, before I got married, I had 3 sex partners, and my husband was one of them, so 2 people besides my husband. And everybody, like, I didn't have sex in college because I was super Christian. So, and I've never had a drink in my whole life. Like I was telling you before we started, like, there's just a lot of things that other adult human beings do that I've never done, or I just don't do. So sometimes I can be like, I just don't understand references sometimes, so I can be a little awkward sometimes. Like I don't know what's going on.
How does like abstaining from some of those like secular things, how does that influence your perspective on the world outside of the references? Was it good? I
feel like it's been fine. Like I'm glad that like a lot of my friends and my oldest daughter, like she says, you're just high on life. Like I wish I could be high on life, because I am. Like I just like, oh my God, the trees, or you know. People always ask me like, how do you cope with life if you don't drink or if you don't blah blah blah, like do things. I'm like, just face whatever is happening. I don't know, like feel your feelings. Why am I feeling that? You know, like I think it's an opportunity for me to explore. And I feel like if I were to drink or escape, which I have had some escapist things that I've partook in, I don't know the word, but I feel like, yeah, it's just a way to avoid, and it's it's not helping me to evolve, which is what I'm really about. I want to evolve.
Yeah. And what prompted you to get married at 19 or 20?
Yeah. Well, it was life circumstance, like not a pregnancy or anything, but I was having problems with my dad at the time. He was having problems with his mom. We were Christians. We didn't believe in shacking up, but we wanted to leave our parents' homes and move in together. So what do? You got to get married. So that's what we did.
Okay, so you get married and then you move to Atlanta. Is it because there are more black people here?
No, that's what made me stay. For sure. We came here because his aunt lived here, and he had been wanting to leave Minnesota. So he was like, it's a long story, but he quit his job. We were going to take a 2-week-long road trip. We were going to go to South Carolina, Atlanta, Phoenix, somewhere else, and then go back home to Minnesota and figure out where we wanted to move. But we just ended up coming here first. Yeah. And I just really loved it, like the energy of it. And I was honestly really scared to come to Atlanta. I didn't feel like I was good enough. Because when I thought of Atlanta, like being in Minnesota, like I listened to Atlanta music because there was this boy on my college football team. He was from Atlanta. So he we listened to Crime Mob, like he introduced Crime Mob to us. And so like, I mean, thinking of Atlanta, I was just like, I don't know, not the Crime Mob situation, but just everything else I saw of Atlanta was just very like, oh my God, they're way up here and I'm way down here. I can't go to Atlanta. But then coming here, it was like, oh yeah, no, it's just like regular people too. So.
Were you still practicing your Christian faith when you got to Atlanta?
For sure.
Okay.
Yeah, for like 6 years of being here, I was super Christian.
And are you still involved in the church or?
Oh no, I'm not Christian. I don't know if that's offensive to you or your audience, but I don't like say it's a bad, well, okay, let me not say that. But no, I definitely respect people's religious beliefs. I just don't subscribe to them.
And how did you come to that decision?
Reading. I read the whole Bible a couple times, some documentaries, and just thinking, like, what actually makes sense to me? Like, what lands for me? Like, if this wasn't given to us, like, okay, so as, like, a woman of color, like, I don't know, like, I don't want to offend anyone, but
no, you're not offending anyone.
Okay, but this is how I really feel. Like, when I think about our ancestors, I think how they were stolen from their land, like they had their culture taken away, their language taken away, their family taken away. Like, everything that they loved and held dear was taken away from them. And the people that took it away from them gave them this religion. And you think that they gave you something good? I don't get it. I just don't get it. Like, how can you accept that? It makes me really sad when I see black Christians. Then black people do church better than anybody. It's so sad to me. But the question I ask people is, who did your ancestors pray to before slavery? Who did they pray to before they were taken captive? Like, they didn't pray to Jesus. I'll tell you that. Like, so yeah, no, I'm not Christian.
And so, at what point did you separate from your partner?
2013.
And was that because of your new belief system?
No, so the first time I uttered out of my mouth that I was not Christian was 2015, so it was 2 years after the separation. Like, I was so scared to say, and that's another thing, like, this religion is so based on fear and shame, and it's just like, it's so sad, and it, first of all, it weakens the immune system for you to be in fear all the time, but that's beside the point. But it's like, if you religion, any religion to me, is just a way to control the masses. If you get a group of people being scared to death of hell, like this eternal inferno, of course they're gonna do whatever you say, like, because they want to be good and they want to be saved and go to heaven. So, but yeah, no, we didn't separate because of my new faith. At the foundation of our separation was the fact that we were together since we were 14 years old. So we just, grew apart. But there was infidelity on both sides. But that's just a symptom of, things lacking in the relationship. So, yeah.
Do you feel like you grew from that experience?
Yeah. Majorly, I grow from every that's the point, I think, is to grow from every experience. I've decided that life is really about growth and contribution, like growing internally with yourself and contributing by giving, like out of your growth. So a lot of people feel like life is about happiness, or like that's the goal, but I don't think so. Like, I feel like we're really here to grow and contribute, and then keep growing and keep contributing. And so a big part of growth is pain and challenge. Like, you can't grow if you're happy all the time. If everything goes well, how are you going to grow? So yeah, that experience was like the catalyst to me becoming who I am now and who I will be. He was my best teacher, like my ex-husband. Like, not because he's like, oh, you should do this, like directly, but indirectly he's my best teacher. Like, he's still my best teacher. All the challenges that we still have, it's like, okay, I could have handled that situation differently.
Yeah.
Like, what areas do I still need to work on? So.
And so the work that you do now with like sexology, what made you want to enter that field?
A couple things. I mean, that's my favorite subject to talk about, is how humans relate to each other, which I think is based on how we relate to ourselves. Like, I think the most important relationship in life is the relationship you have with yourself. Like, every relationship extends out of that. So if you feel you're worthy of love and you respect yourself and you love yourself, then of course that energy will radiate, and that's all you'll accept back. But if you don't feel worthy, then yeah, you're going to accept a trash interaction because you don't feel like you deserve anything better. So yeah, I got into studying sexology unofficially after I left my ex. In 2014, I took a class at University of Colorado called The Science of Relationships. And that class like blew my mind, and then I couldn't stop reading about relationships and kink and everything. But then I officially started studying sexology this year.
And so is sexology about the relationship between the sexes, or is it about the specific sexual relationship between male
So I'm
and
studying,
female?
so the course I'm in is to be a sexologist and relationship coach. So we work on like human sexuality. So we can work with an individual with like, basically to accept your own sexuality, understand yourself, and again, to heal the relationship with yourself so you can have relationships with other people that are healthy and functional. But then we can also work with couples if they're having like low libido, erectile dysfunction, like just not compatible sexually.
And so is it like one of those things where you guide them through having sex together?
Not like I'm standing there coaching them, like in the midst of it, but yeah, we can teach them. So I'm also going to, when I'm done with this certification, I'm also going to do like this certification called sexological body work, which is actually like places on the body to activate certain things with the different genders. But as far as couples, a lot of it is mental, and a lot of it goes back to your inner child. So like your core wounds as an inner child will show up as your core desires as an adult. So like being in this industry and with modeling, I've come across like the full range of like sexual preferences and desires, and like there are people who love to be humiliated, and like sexually, like that turns them on to be humiliated. And so I've learned that like as a child, when a child's humiliated, they're not able to necessarily cope with that in the way they want to because they're a kid and they don't have the power. So then when they get to be older, it's called repetition with agency. So they want to repeat the humiliation, but now they have agency over their lives and their situation. Basically, they have control over it. So they can be humiliated in this space where it's safe now. But it's like, it's a way to heal. But a lot of people don't understand, like, why do you want to be humiliated? Or why do you, why do you want to be choked or hurt or, you know? But it's because of their core wounding when they were a kid.
Are there any limits to your interest? So, for example, like any just like wild sexual interest that you wouldn't
partake in?
Not necessarily partake in, but
help someone with?
Yeah.
Not that I can think of. Like if you gave me an example of something super crazy.
I don't want to, because I don't want to like judge anybody.
Oh, okay. Well, like we even talked about pedophilia. Like there's a way to like help somebody with that and not let them hurt children, basically, or hopefully prevent it. Because there are a lot of people who have love for children, like sexual desire towards children, who don't actually act it out, but they are repressing it. And so the fact that they're not acting it out, like the likelihood that they may one day, like increases. But if you're able to act it out in a safe space, like the founders of our school, they told us, you know, they did have some clients who were pedophiliacs or pedophiles, who were pedophiles. And so they were able to get in this space of like the coach pretending to be a child, and the pedophile was actually aroused and able to, you know, with their partner, they were able to act that out instead. I know that's hard, but
I've never heard anything like that.
Yeah, because the recidivism rate for pedophiles is like 97%. Like they're going, if they act it out and they go to jail, like you let them out, like they're going to do it again. So they have to get in this place where they can do it in a safe space with a consenting adult. But a lot of people just, again, with religion and just this country and like our socializing, like we just try to repress so much of ourselves and we don't accept who we are. So, and it just blows up. Like we are who we are, like accept it and figure out how to be yourself. So if it sucks to say, but if you're a pedophile, like there's a way to act that out with a consenting adult. So I don't know what other crazy things that you were maybe thinking of.
I can't even think of anything. You're the expert, so I'm like, maybe she'll tell me something I never heard of.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else crazy. I can't think of anything.
So earlier you talked about modeling, and I know you were a nude model. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, so I'm also an artist. Like I draw. Well, I used to draw. In college I drew. I haven't drawn in years, but we used to have art models come in, the nude models. And there's this one woman, she had to be like almost 70 years old. But she came in there and she was so like confident, and she just seemed, so like at peace with who she was and at peace with her nudity and her body. And I'm like, I want to be that. Like when I turn 60, I'm going to become a nude model. Like that's what I told myself. And so after I left my ex, I was seeing this guy, and I told him when I'm 60, I want to be a nude model. He's like, you're beautiful now. Why don't you just do it now? I was like, oh my God, I could do it now. So yeah, when my divorce was final, like the next month I started posing for art classes and then also posing like for photographers.
And so, did you want to take that to the next level, or like?
What do you mean?
Like Playboy or?
Oh no. So I'm very like, Playboy wouldn't be my speed. It's just, first of all, my boobs aren't big enough for Playboy.
But it's like the biggest nude magazine in there.
Yeah, but you gotta have big boobs, don't you?
I don't think so. I think they're like all about body positivity now.
Oh, really?
I haven't read a Playboy.
Oh, okay. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm just judging or, yeah, I don't know because I haven't seen Playboy. The only, like, I saw Playboy when I was a lot younger, and it's just, from what I remember, it wasn't anything that I would have wanted to do. Just, yeah, because I feel like I'm more like, but if they're body positivity, cool. But I never entered my mind to do that.
Are you practicing any art now, or?
I still model. Yeah, that's really it right now. Modeling, and I want to do podcasts and YouTube and a blog.
Yeah.
But the most active thing I do right now is model.
You have a YouTube.
I do have a YouTube. Am I active on my YouTube though? No, not right now. So I want to get back to being active and start a podcast.
And as far as your YouTube, like what is it that you're focusing on?
I want to focus on helping humans to accept and love themselves. Like, I really feel like it's a process of self-discovery, like really discovering who you are, then accepting what you find, and then learning to love it. So that's really what, like, the process I want to help people go through, like facilitate. I don't like the word healer, like more like a guide or someone accompanying you on your journey. But yeah, I feel like my whole purpose of being alive on this planet is to follow my curiosities, because I'm so curious about so many things, and then just share what I find. And I feel like it's going to help people because people are curious too.
Did you face any challenges on your spiritual journey?
Yeah, always. Yeah.
What was the biggest?
I mean, all of them I feel like are relationships, like in human interacting with other people, or money. Yeah, money and love. Those are the biggest challenges. Which, interestingly, like, I study a lot about business too, and so they say like if you want to sell high ticket courses, like the three biggest areas are love, money, and health. Which makes sense, because that's what
they want.
Yeah. Figure out how to make money. If you could teach people how to make money, you're gonna make a lot of money. If you teach people about relationships, you're gonna make a lot of money. If you teach people how to be healthy, lose weight, whatever. Yeah.
Do you feel like having an attachment to those things can block your journey?
Yes.
Or like slow it down?
Definitely. I feel like attachment in general blocks things. So I feel like love says, I want you to be happy. And attachment says, I want you to make me happy.
Right.
So you have to let that go. Like, if you really love somebody, it's really not about you. You just want them to be happy.
Do you feel like love can exist in this like fast-paced modern age? Like, I feel like everything's so fast. Like, how?
Yeah, I do feel like it can exist. It does exist.
Unconditionally, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I have unconditional love for people, but there are certain people who I love who I'll never see again. Like, I refuse, who I'll never talk to again. And, people say, well, love is a verb. Like, you have to show action. okay, well, if that's what you think. Like, I know what I feel. I know I genuinely love this person, but I don't love how they handle conflict, or I don't love how they handle me. You know, like, at the end of the day, I love myself. I respect myself. So I'm not going to allow certain energies. Like, I think we think unconditional love equates to unconditional tolerance of BS, and it doesn't. Like, you don't have to tolerate certain things just because you love someone. Yeah, you don't have to. You can forgive people and also decide that their energy doesn't work for your life. And that's that. But it doesn't necessarily have to take away from the love you have for them.
Right.
But I think how we define love, because of what we've been fed, like, we romanticize love, and I don't do that anymore. Like, when I interact with people, it's hard now to, like, be infatuated with anyone. Like, because I can see things like, oh, like, infatuation is really like the story someone creates about you or you create about someone else, which is so fun. I love the infatuation, but it doesn't happen to me now because I see everything. Like, I see things for what they are, and it's just like, okay. Like, I get it. Like, I see people's wounds now very easily. And yeah, I know why people do things. So it kind of takes the fun out of it.
So how do you become interested in a person if there's no sort of like infatuation or that like butterfly phase? Like, are you just looking at them like the raw?
Like, well, because I have no. So my motivation for interacting with people is different than a lot of women in Atlanta, I've realized. So, like, a lot of women in Atlanta are looking for someone to make them a wife, looking for someone to make them a mother, looking for someone to take care of them, take them on trips, and give them this amazing life. And I've already been a wife. I already have kids. Like, I've checked off, like, we have this grocery list, and I've checked off a lot of things. So I'm just like, my purpose for interacting with people is to share experiences, to grow, like, to enjoy this time with this human being. Like, I don't fantasize about forever. Unfortunately, I don't. Like, it's kind of ingrained in me, so they're like, I have little flickers of like, oh, like, we're gonna be together forever, but it's like, you don't want that? Like, no, like, So I just really take people for who they are, and I enjoy the moments. Like, I don't take anything for granted, because maybe we'll change our mind. Maybe we'll decide this doesn't work for us. That doesn't mean that the love was lost. Like, I still really have a lot of gratitude for the moments we shared, but now it's over. So, yeah. So I realized, like, with men, there's only two things. Like I said, all that stuff that women are looking for. With me, I'm like, I'm going to give myself an amazing life. I take myself on trips all the time. Like, I don't need money from men. So for me, there's only two things. External love, because no matter how much I love myself, there's still nothing like getting love from someone else. Like, how they show you love can be so amazing. And sex. Like, I say, sometimes I get to a place with dating where I'm just like, I'm just gonna masturbate and keep moving, because it's so much easier, because my fingers never get jealous. They never question me. I never have to answer to them. It's just like, my fingers just make me come, and then I go to sleep. No problems. Dating has all these other issues. So sometimes I get to the place where I'm just like, masturbation. Right. That's the key. But, you know, sex is a beautiful thing, and it feels nice to share energy with another human.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, those are the two things that a man can give me. Outside of that, I mean, a man could take me on trips and do all the other things I said, but that's not what I'm looking for.
Right. And so, like, what's next? What's your ultimate aspiration?
I don't know. Ultimate. That's a big word. Ultimate. Like I said, I just really, my goal in everything I do is just to share. Or there were different things I wanted to do, and those things have evolved. So like who I am right now today, November 9th, 2022, in 2 years I might want something totally different, but I believe that no matter what it is, my goal is always going to be to help humanity, like to grow. So that's my ultimate goal.
For someone watching this who is going on their spiritual journey, what piece of advice would you have for them?
That's a big one too. I guess like to just explore your curiosities. Anything you're curious about, read about it. Watch videos, watch documentaries. Like be your own advocate in your spiritual journey. Don't expect like somebody else to come along to teach you about things. Like go looking for it. I don't know. I'm sure when I leave, I'll be like, I should have said this other piece of advice. Right now, that's what I have.